And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode 11. Well, you can see I have my brown sweatshirt on, so that should give you a hint of something about this vehicle. And we are looking at a beautiful 1991 Ford Aerostar minivan, listed for just $700 in Hedgesville, West Virginia. Country road, take me home. And you could certainly cruise the country roads for a country mile or two in this Aerostar. So it says it's driven 999,999 miles. That obviously is just sort of someone typing in numbers to try to get their listing up. Automatic transmission. Now it says exterior color is gray. Now this to me is a beautiful sort of taupey beige-ish color, and I know I said in an earlier video this is quite a rare color, and I stand by that, especially in the earlier years this was available, but we've seen a couple of pop up now, so that's encouraging. A beige over brown. I love a two-tone Aerostar, and I love this secondary brown color. Very rarely do you see the secondary brown color on an Aerostar. A lot of times the secondary color will be gold or silver. There was some two-tone blue schemes with a light and dark blue that looked very nice, and you have a beautiful running board on this too. Very interesting specimen here. One of the episodes I did a standard length, so not the extended length, but a standard length all-wheel drive, and I was saying how rare it was, and here we have another one. Now, of course, there were over 2 million Aerostars made, so it stands to reason that there's going to be a lot of different combinations, and of course there's going to be, you know, not just a single one that stands out alone, but certainly the standard length all-wheel drives were quite rare. So if you're looking for a deal on an Aerostar, this is a bit of a project, but it's got all the, it's got all the right guts in it. So 91 all-wheel drive Aerostar, have title and runs, but been sitting for quite a long time. The van has a Jasper 2.9 in it with around 50,000 miles on that engine. Runs and drives, but is not roadworthy from it sitting. $700. So, for a couple weird, quirky things going on with this. First, the Jasper 2.9, I had to look that up. Now, Aerostars of this era came with either a 3-liter V6 or a 4-liter V6. I believe that's after, let's see, I think after 88, the 2.8, maybe even after 87, the 2.8 Cologne V6 carbureted was gone. Obviously, at some point it's had some engine trouble, and it seems like the engine was replaced, which is just amazing. I love anytime someone cares enough about an Aerostar to replace the entire engine in it. The Jasper 2.9, again, I didn't do too much research about it. Kind of mixed results when I looked it up, whether it was like kind of a reliable vehicle, but I believe these are sort of a crate engine that people drop into a lot of Fords, but like sort of any other vehicle, Rangers, they put them in. And so it's funny that the displacement is close to the 3.0, but not quite. I believe they are relatively inexpensive engine, especially in terms of crate engines go. But, with around only 50,000 miles on it, for $700, and it is running, it's not like it's a total non-op, pretty good deal. Now, the funny thing about this listing is that previously I saw a listing for this where it was being sold together with an old Audi sedan. I don't know if it was a 90, but I believe it was before A4, A6, so very maybe late 80s, early 90s Audi sedan that was a 5-speed manual, and they wanted $1,500 for the pair of them. So again, if you had a trailer that accommodated 2 vehicles, you can go pick those up as a pair. Probably sell the Audi for, close to that and have a free Aerostar, which I'm always in favor of. So that was kind of funny. Maybe they sold the Audi and now they got just this Aerostar listed, which is great because they got some more pictures of it up here. Beautiful specimen here. Let's see, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. Now this should have, because it's a 91, it should have the Ford logo centrally. I do that counting because the first 3 years were 5-spoke grill, and then next 3 years were 3-spoke grill with Ford logo centrally mounted. So I'm wondering if this is perhaps a replacement grill, or maybe just at the very end of the run they had already replaced it with a newer grill, so this got in early. Don't know about that. Your running board, also not sure if that's aftermarket or not. You do see a lot of these earlier Aerostars with this sort of like plain Jane metal running board, which is a little different than the metal running board that was on the Aerostar Sports. Beautiful alloy wheels, sort of slicer style, like I say for the C4 Corvette wheels. And a nice bumper. I can't tell how much this paint is just faded or if it, originally matched that color or not. It seems like a, two-tone bumper here, which is very, very nice. Really like this Aerostar. Really great looking Aerostar. Just a nice stance. Jay Leno always says, like, when you're looking at a used car, sometimes they just kind of sit right. And I think this thing just kind of sits right. It has a really nice stance. That running board helps it make it look a little lower. And your smaller non-towing mirrors just add to the sleekness. Now, of course, these Aerostars, I don't think I mentioned this yet, had a 0.37 drag coefficient, or coefficient of drag. And they always talked about how aerodynamic they are. Obviously, it was modeled after the NASA spaceship. But they kind of backed that up with numbers, because at the time, this actually had a better drag coefficient than the Fox body Mustang. And I think a couple of other smaller, like kind of sportier cars, Mercury Cougar and stuff like that. So it did have a, of course, now that's not that impressive. But even now for like a van, that's pretty good. And that helped it achieve, pretty decent gas mileage. Here we are coming around the backside. And boy, the bumpers are all fully intact, which is great. Your logos here now have been mounted to the back instead of on the quarter panel. You do have, of course, your all-wheel drive badging right there, which you can't see too great, but a little bit of rust going on, and that's something to take note of. But it seems like it's not really totally down on the rockers. It's more up high, so hopefully it hasn't no rot or anything has begun to sink into the frame. We can only hope. Pretty dingy, could definitely use a wash and a detail and a polish and a wax, as all Aerostars deserve. But certainly not in bad shape. I see maybe a little thing going down by the window. That could just be some mildew or something like that. Looks like you have a nice little big family of critters there on the back, as a lot of people do these days. So that it's funny. This is like the Aerostar sleuthing. The fact that they have this, their pack on the back, that's a fairly new thing, I'd say, within the last 4 or 5 years maybe. So that means it's probably been driven somewhat recently. It hasn't been sitting for 20 years or something like that. Now this is probably, the best shot, because we have the sunlight directly hitting it and we can get a really good look at these colors, and you can see it almost like a bronze. It's almost like a deep metallic bronze here. Now the Corvette C8 just came out with this Zeus Bronze color for 2020, and I thought that was like one of the best looking colors. And I don't think many were ordered in that color either, just because, a brown Corvette. That harkens back to like the C3 maybe. You had some brown Corvettes, but beautiful, beautiful color. And this is fairly close to that. It does look like there's a little bit of metallic flake in there. And you can see this sort of like beautiful sand dollar beige, really, really shimmering too. Now you have the rain gutters here, which I talked about in that beautiful green cream puff Aerostar I did. And those are quite functional, and I think they add, again, a nice little aesthetic appeal. I can't tell if these windows are tinted. They might have a slight tint to them. So overall, just a really, really beautiful package here. Now, this is pretty funny. If you look at the pipe here, it almost looks like someone let their dog out near this Aerostar. But that is not a piece of excrement. That is your tailpipe. A funny thing about these Aerostars is that I always kind of say how they have like a side exhaust, and of course a side exhaust is sort of, again, Corvette, C2 Corvette, C3 Corvettes, Dodge Vipers have this like side exhaust, and it's like this really, sporty thing, and it's helping airflow and blah, blah, blah. And the Aerostar, I say, to be a diplomat, it has a semi-side exhaust. So it's kind of coming out the back, but it curves around right at the end and shoots out just behind your passenger side rear tire. It's just a quirky little feature of the Aerostar, how it doesn't shoot straight out the back, kind of hooks around there. This one obviously laying on the ground, so that's probably not a great indication of its overall condition, but again, it is running. You're going to need to do some exhaust work. Beautiful taillights here, right, with your amber in them. I just love these taillights, these little, well, it seems like is my screen frozen? Oh no. Ladies and gentlemen, our first technical difficulties in our... Oh, we're back. All right, sorry about that. I love these taillights because it's this cool... Now I should see what the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 little sort of wraparound tubes. So like everything on the Aerostar, it's like, okay, this is your basic taillight. It's a big block, right? But it's a perfect sort of like analogy for the Aerostar in general, where it seems very sort of plain Jane and it seems very utilitarian, but the more you study it, the more you sort of appreciate all the little details and all the little nuances. So you have this like, okay, it's a block headlight. And the other thing about the Aerostar, it's always angular, but the more you look, the more you see little slight curves. So you have these nice rounded off tubular curves that just, you know, carve this beautiful rounded right angle here. And you have 10 of them, but then you have this ratio of 5 to 2 to 3. And something about that, you know, your 3 plus 2 equaling 5, you have this sort of, you know, imbalance but balanced. As I mentioned in another video, you have this like kind of negative space created where they're all an odd number, but they, you know, bisect perfectly right in the middle between the red and the white and the amber to form just like a very, you know, nice aesthetic picture. So I love the taillights on these things. They're a really, really great piece. One of many little great pieces and details on the Aerostar. You see your all-wheel drive badging, of course, and this, you know, when the light hits it, you really sort of see all these panel creases, which I've talked about quite a bit on these videos, and just, you know, all these lines, your bottom sill line here, then one on the sort of lower section of the door, another one where like your two-tone piping comes in that perfectly goes into your wheel arches and meets your bumper line, so one continuous line there, another line that perfectly, you know, comes right over the top of your wheel arch that goes all the way down and wraps around and even continues down to your hatch. That crease goes all the way to your back hatch there. And then another one right below your window line, and that one of course is your big swooping arch that is this nice, beautiful, just gradual sloping bend that kind of works perfectly with your hood line right there. And then another beautiful little curve. This whole triangle window area, just these sort of curves are so perfect and gradual and swooping, and they all kind of go in different directions, but they all have the perfect little ratios of space between them. Just gorgeous. Just really, you know, it's so much easier to say you can like draw a good car than actually do so. And to get all these lines and curves and swoops to integrate perfectly on a three-dimensional space is really, really impressive. I have to find out, I've done a lot of research on who actually designed the Aerostar. I can't quite figure it out. I know there's this fella, Jack Telnack, who was like really heavy in the Ford design department during these years, and maybe it was sort of a design by committee thing. But I would like to know like the exact group of people that were actually responsible for this design. I mean, it's only right that we know, you know, the human that sort of penned this thing, or humans. So I would like to find that out. If anyone knows, please share. But you know, your little keyholes and your little this beautiful symmetry that's created between your, you know, your door handles all the way at the back of this door, all the way at the front of this door. So if you're approaching the doors, they're right there for you. And it looks like the sliding door and the driver's door have a lock on them, which is really nice, very practical. And again, look at the space created by your hood line right here versus your space created by the angle in the window that bends right here. You have these sort of similar, you know, like triangles, for a lack of a better term, created by these two lines, and they sit right next to each other. One's going down and one's kind of going up. So again, you could just, you know, sit in your garage with a glass of wine, as Jay Leno likes to say, and just stare at this car and appreciate all the beautiful lines on it. Looks like, yeah, just perfection. Just perfection. Nice Dodge Ram there hanging out in the background with some white wall tires. So, there you have it. A beautiful 1991 Ford Aerostar, all-wheel drive, standard length, two-tone with running boards and alloy wheels, and a replacement Jasper 2.9 in it, which is quite curious. First time I've seen one with a swap in that like that. Located in Hedgesville, West Virginia, and listed for only $700. Thank you so much for watching. As always, this has been Year of the Aerostar, and we'll see you for the next one. Janky do thanky.
One small step for man, one